Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars.
SoundCartel.
From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Many of us are still adjusting to how business practices have been transformed since COVID. Sales and negotiations consultant Julia Ewert says smart businesses, post-pandemic, are embracing virtual engagement. She says that isolating that 10 to 15% of unproductive employee time and filling it with virtual training can benefit staff and the business. And by adopting an online sales approach with humility and care can also result in higher conversion rates. Julia tells Jeff Waters exactly why she thinks virtual engagement is a game changer.
So absolutely it is, because travel is going to be off the table this year for a lot of companies who can't afford the expense. So we are looking to engage people more virtually than we can face-to-face. This will save companies considerable amount of time in terms of productivity and also money. And we can be more productive and actually increase our productivity by engaging with people virtually this year rather than hopping on planes and losing downtime in productivity.
You're saying this year, is there anything different coming up this year that was different to last year or the year before?
Yeah, travel prices are skyrocketing, as many people would know. So this year makes it a bit different because there are people outraged at certain airlines that for domestic flights, it's just not feasible anymore. The fees were creeping up. Flight prices where travel was creeping up last year, but where it is at the moment, it's at an alarmingly high level.
And you also mentioned that there are increased efficiencies to be had. How so?
So what we can do to increase our efficiency is many different things. One in particular relates closely to the labour shortages, Jeff. So there's lots of companies out there who are experiencing or have even over the last couple of years been looking high and low and under rocks for staff. Some of them are looking for humans with pulses, and that's even tricky. So what they're trying to do is they've been trying really hard to recruit good talent over the last year or two. One of the trends we will see now in terms of efficiency is smart businesses are upskilling their existing team with the skills required to get the job done, rather than wasting more time in recruiting new team members and then hoping that they actually turn out. Now, this is not about taking your existing team, one team member, and giving them the jobs of 3 people. This is not what this is about. Smart businesses are finding that team members these days and employees, they want greater skills. They want to be able to market themselves in the future with a better toolbox of offers for their future employers and future ability to be promoted. So this is about finding maybe 10 to 15% of less productive time in people's schedules and working out how can we be more effective and upskill them for that amount of time. So if you have an entire workforce that you can find 10% of time that they can be doing on other tasks, that it's going to help them to be more skilled and more experienced, and it helps the business to be more productive, then this is also a big win.
So bringing that back to the online experience, how are those two things connected?
So what tends to happen is we have a lot of businesses at the moment, rather than hiring sales teams or a salesperson or a bunch of business development managers, they are teaching their existing frontline workers sales skills or a sales process. So those existing team can actually help that company win more business, which they will not do in travel, they will do online.
And from experience, how is that going?
Very successfully. I am yet to see a company fail dismally in doing this. So people are picking up productivity. It's much more efficient when you can do it well. And the caveat here is doing it well. This is not about just having a meeting with someone online and having some meaningless chit-chat. This is about still having a repeatable sales process in your business, of which one part of your process is to meet people online and have successful, structured conversations with them. So the caveat to this is doing this correctly is great. Like anything, doing it poorly is terrible.
You know, Mazars have been a long-time supporter of SoundCartel, and now they're helping us bring you this podcast. To find out how Mazars can support your business, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.
So how do you make sure you're not doing it poorly?
So making sure that we have these meetings online, if we're having a 60-minute Teams meeting with someone, is just about making sure that you just don't show up and have the conversation by accident. So doing it poorly would be something like, for example, Jeff, if you and I were having an online conversation and you were considering working with my company, me showing up and saying, "So Jeff, what would you like to talk about today?" This is terrible. Also doing it terribly is me saying, "Jeff, let me tell you all about my company and why I'm so amazing and why I'm so great." This is also a terrible strategy. Me turning up to be the hero of the conversation is also a terrible strategy. And turning up when I know I can't value that time together. So in these sales conversations, when we are following a repeatable sales process, these conversations should go for an hour, no more. They should be purposeful, and they will be the opposite of winging it. It's the opposite of an accidental conversation, but it should feel conversational. It should feel collaborative. It should feel genuine. It should feel like you're doing it with humility and trust-building principles. If it feels weird and icky, you're doing it wrong.
Yes, you've used the word humility before. Can you please explain how I can bring humility to the process?
Yes, it's an unlikely word that you may hear associated with sales, wouldn't you think?
Indeed.
So when I'm talking about doing sales with humility, this means that I'm going to take the assumption that any small business out there and medium business thinks they're doing a great job and they know they're doing well. So bringing humility to your sales conversation is about how can you serve the other person with a problem that they're looking to have solved. It's the opposite of taking your product and service and ramming it down someone's throat. Having a conversation that's humble in sales is about seeing how you can serve the other person. What have they tried before? What would a great solution look like to them? What are the ways, if you did have a successful partnership, you could work together? What does good communication look like together? Tell me about some relationships in business that have worked well. Tell me about some that haven't worked so well. And this is about getting the answers to all those questions so that we can work out, do we actually want to work together? As well as people having their problems solved. So having humility in your sales conversation is really about you, your conversation being less about you and more about somebody else.
Now, you've said that this will be a big game changer across industry. How will it be a big game changer? I mean, how profound will this change be?
I'm looking at some of my clients at the moment, Jeff, who have put a repeatable sales process in their business, and they've picked up efficiencies that are 25-30%.
Wow.
Their conversion ratios are increasing from 5 and 6% up to 18 and 19%. And these are companies who are converting clients that are worth tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And the types of businesses I'm working with here are what I would call non-traditional sales businesses. They're not retail, they're not property, they're not developers. They're engineers, they're accounting firms, they're financial planners. They are marketing firms, training companies, tech companies to some degree. These are not traditional sales businesses. So their conversations are high stakes because they're not doing high volume. They're doing high ticket value, low volume. So if each one of these conversations is worth, $100,000, $1 million, this is a high stakes conversation. So if you can convert more of those through having a repeatable sales process in your business that leverages how to use online video portals properly and how to connect with people online well, then everything to gain here, absolutely.
That was sales and negotiations consultant Julia Ewert. This episode of Business Essentials Daily is produced by the team at SoundCartel. Thanks for listening. I'm Nicole Goodman. We'll bring you more Be Daily tomorrow. Follow @BE Daily Podcast across social media and head to bedaily.com.au for more from the Business Essentials Daily podcast. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.